The Great Hall of the Galactic Confederation was filled with representatives from 100 different species. They stood in their assigned sections, some floating in special chambers, filled with gases from their homeworlds, others perched on structures designed for their unique bodies. At the center of this massive chamber, Ambassador Katie Lynn stood alone at the human podium. She was a small woman by any standard. The aliens around her towered over her position, their eyes and sensors fixed on her with expressions ranging from boredom to open contempt. Katie had been Earth's voice in this chamber for 7 years, and in all that time, she had never once felt welcome. The Veloxy Empire has attacked 17 human colonies in the past 3 years, Katie said, her voice steady and calm. They have killed over 40,000 of our citizens. They have taken our people as slaves. We have brought evidence of these crimes to this council 12 times. 12 times, you have done nothing. A clicking sound came from the Veloxy section. High Arbiter Zethrin, the leader of their empire, rose from his seat. He was an insectoid creature, standing nearly 3 meters tall, with 4 arms and a hard shell that gleamed under the chamber lights. His mandibles clicked together in what passed for laughter among his kind. The humans complain again, Zethrin said. This is what weak species do. They cry to others for protection instead of defending themselves. Laughter rippled through the chamber. Katie watched as delegates from dozens of species joined in the mockery. She kept her face neutral, showing nothing of what she felt inside. We are not asking for protection, Katie said. We are asking for justice under Confederation law. Law is for equals, another delegate called out. Humans are barely worth the oxygen they breathe. Katie turned to look at the speaker, an amphibian creature from a world called Thessia Prime. She remembered that the Thessians had joined the Confederation 3,000 years before humanity even discovered fire. To them, humans were infants playing at civilization. I see, Katie said quietly. Then we have nothing more to discuss. She gathered her documents and walked out of the chamber. Behind her, she could hear more laughter and mocking comments. She did not look back. 3 hours later, Katie sat in her office aboard the human embassy station orbiting the Confederation capital world. Across from her, displayed on a large screen, was Admiral Daniel Cole. He was a man in his late 50s with gray hair and tired eyes. He commanded Earth's defensive fleet, though that title meant little when their entire military numbered less than 200 ships. They refused again, Katie said. It was not a question. I watched the broadcast, Daniel replied. The High Arbiter seemed especially pleased with himself today. He announced something after I left. The Veloxy are claiming 3 more of our colony worlds. They say they will begin occupation within 60 days. Daniel was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke again, his voice was different. Harder. Which worlds? New Montana, Harvest, and Eden Prime. 8 million people. Yes. Daniel looked down at something off-screen. Katie knew he was reading reports, calculating losses, thinking about the impossible choices ahead of them. She had known him for 15 years, and she had never seen him look so old. Katie, he said finally. I need you to come home. What? Earth Command has activated Protocol Omega. All diplomatic staff are being recalled. Katie felt her heart skip. Protocol Omega was something she had heard whispered about but never confirmed. It was supposed to be a myth, a story that junior officers told each other late at night. The idea that Earth had been hiding something all along. Daniel, she said carefully, is it real? He looked directly at the camera, and for the first time in years, she saw something in his eyes that she did not recognize. It might have been hope. It might have been something darker. Get on a transport tonight, he said. There are things you need to see. The screen went dark. Far away, on the bridge of his flagship, Admiral Daniel Cole turned to his second-in-command. Commander Ryan Brooks was young, barely 30, with the kind of fire in his eyes that came from watching his people suffer without being able to fight back. Sir, Ryan asked, what are our orders? Contact all fleet commanders on the secure channel. Authorization code Omega 773. Ryan's eyes went wide. Sir, that code. I thought it was just a training exercise. It was never a training exercise, Commander. Daniel stood and walked to the main viewport, looking out at the stars. 60 years ago, when we first met the Confederation, we made a choice. We decided to hide what we really were. We watched. We learned. We waited. Waited for what? For this. For the moment when we would have no other choice. Daniel turned back to face his officer. The Veloxi think they know what humans are. They think we are weak. They think we are afraid. They have built their entire strategy around those beliefs. And they are wrong? Daniel smiled, but there was no warmth in it. Commander, in the next 60 days, the galaxy is going to learn the truth about humanity. And when they do, nothing will ever be the same. In the Veloxi Command Center on their homeworld of Chitara, High Arbiter Zethrin was celebrating. His generals surrounded him, clicking their mandibles in approval as he outlined the plan to take the human colonies. They will not resist, Zethrin declared. They never do. Humans are prey animals. They run. They hide. They beg for mercy. Should we expect any response from their fleet? One general asked. Zethrin made a dismissive gesture with two of his arms. What fleet? They have a few patrol ships. Old technology. Weak weapons. We could destroy their entire military in an afternoon. The humans did send a formal warning, another general noted. They said there would be consequences if we proceed. The room filled with clicking laughter. Let them warn, Zethrin said. Let them protest. Let them cry to the Confederation. In the end, they will kneel like all weak species do. It is the natural order of things. He turned to look at a display showing the location of human colonies, marking the worlds he intended to take. So many soft targets, so many resources waiting to be claimed. Begin the invasion preparations, Zethrin ordered. In 60 days, the human era ends. None of them noticed the tiny device hidden in the ceiling. It was no larger than a grain of sand, placed there by human agents decades ago. It recorded everything, transmitting the data across the galaxy in a way that Veloxi technology could not detect. On Earth, in a command center buried deep beneath mountains, men and women in uniforms watched the Veloxi celebration in real time. They had been watching for 60 years. They had been waiting, and now, finally, the waiting was almost over. New Montana was a beautiful world. It had wide plains covered in golden grass, mountains that touched the clouds, and rivers so clean you could see the bottom from 100 meters away. 2 million humans called it home. They were farmers, teachers, doctors, and children who had never known any world but this one. Governor Linda Park stood on the balcony of the Colonial Administration Building, watching the sun set over the western mountains. She had received the warning from Earth Command 3 days ago. Evacuation was not possible. There was no time, and nowhere for 2 million people to go. Her communication device buzzed. She answered it. Governor, this is Captain Ben Torres on Defense Station Alpha. We have contacts on long-range sensors. How many? There was a pause. When Ben spoke again, his voice was flat. 200 warships, Governor. Veloxi configuration. Linda closed her eyes. 200 ships against their 12 patrol vessels and 1 small defense station. It was not a battle. It was an execution. Captain Torres, what are your orders from Earth Command? I have orders, Governor. I am not permitted to share them with you at this time. Ben, if we are about to die, I think I deserve to know. Another pause. Governor, my orders are to hold position, issue 1 final warning, and then activate something called Protocol Omega. I do not know what that means. I received authorization codes I have never seen before. Linda opened her eyes and looked up at the darkening sky. Somewhere up there, a tiny defense station and 12 small ships were all that stood between her people and slavery or death. Do what you have to do, Captain, she said. And may God help us all. In orbit above New Montana, Captain Ben Torres sat in the command chair of Defense Station Alpha. He was 34 years old. He had a wife on the surface, and a daughter who had just turned 6. He had joined the Colonial Defense Force because he believed in protecting people, even though everyone knew that human military power was a joke compared to the great empires of the galaxy. "Sir, the Veloxy fleet is entering communication range," his sensor officer reported. "Put them on screen." The main display flickered, and the image of a Veloxy commander appeared. General Zalveth was smaller than the High Arbiter but no less terrifying. His compound eyes reflected the lights of his bridge, and his mandibles clicked with barely contained excitement. "Human Commander," Zalveth said. "I am General Zalveth of the Veloxy Imperial Fleet. You will lower your weapons and surrender this system to the Empire. Your people will be processed and assigned to labor camps. Resistance is pointless." Ben looked at the alien for a long moment. He thought about his wife. He thought about his daughter. He thought about the 2 million people on the surface who were counting on him to do something, anything, to save them. "General Zalveth," Ben said calmly. "I am Captain Ben Torres, of the Earth Colonial Defense Force. I am authorized to deliver the following message on behalf of the United Earth Government." He stood up from his chair, straightening his uniform. "This is your final warning. Withdraw your forces from this system immediately. If you proceed with hostile action against this colony, or any other human world, you will face consequences beyond anything you can imagine." "This warning will not be repeated." Zalveth stared at him for several seconds. Then his mandibles began clicking rapidly. It took Ben a moment to realize the alien was laughing. "Consequences?" Zalveth said. "You have 12 ships and a station that my fleet could destroy in minutes. What consequences could you possibly threaten?" "I have delivered the warning as ordered," Ben replied. "What happens next is your choice. My choice is to teach you what happens to species who forget their place." The screen went dark. "Sir," the sensor officer said, "the Veloxy fleet is powering weapons." Ben took a deep breath. He sat back down in his chair and pressed a sequence of buttons on his armrest. A new screen appeared, showing a simple interface with a single red button and the words Protocol Omega above it. "All hands," Ben announced over the station intercom. "This is the captain. Prepare for combat. Whatever happens in the next few minutes, I want you all to know it has been an honor serving with you." The first Veloxy weapons fire struck the station's shields. The whole structure shook. Alarms began sounding across every deck. "They are targeting our patrol vessels," the tactical officer reported. 3 ships destroyed. 5 more taking heavy damage. "Hold position," Ben ordered. "Do not return fire." "Sir? Those are my orders. Hold position and do not fire." The station shook again. Another screen showed the colonial patrol ships being torn apart one by one. Good people dying while Ben sat and did nothing. He gripped the armrests of his chair so hard his knuckles turned white. 7 ships destroyed. 8, 9. The Veloxy fleet moved closer, surrounding the station like predators circling wounded prey. General Zalveth's image appeared on screen again. "Your ships are gone, human. Your station shields are failing. Surrender now, and I might allow some of your people to live." Ben looked at the alien. Then he looked down at the red button on his console. "General," he said quietly, "you were warned." He pressed the button. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then every light on the station flickered. A new signal appeared on the communication system, broadcasting on a frequency that human technology was not supposed to be able to reach. It was a simple message, just a few words, but it was sent with enough power to cross the galaxy in seconds. The message read, "Protocol Omega activated. Final warning ignored. Authorization granted." Quote, "Far away, on Earth, Admiral Daniel Cole was standing in the hidden command center beneath the Rocky Mountains when the message arrived. Around him, hundreds of officers worked at stations filled with technology that did not officially exist. "We have confirmation," an officer announced. "Protocol Omega signal received from New Montana." Daniel closed his eyes for just a moment. He had hoped it would not come to this. For 60 years, they had hoped. "Admiral?" Commander Ryan Brooks asked. "Your orders?" Daniel opened his eyes. He looked at the massive display screen showing the location of every human asset in the galaxy. There were not 200 ships. There were not 2,000. There were 4,000 warships. hidden in places the galaxy did not know existed. Each one was equipped with weapons that made Confederation technology look like children's toys. Each one had been waiting for this moment. "Contact all fleet commanders," Daniel said. "Tell them it is time. Tell them to drop the mask." "And the Veloxy fleet at New Montana?" Daniel's expression hardened. "Send the Quiet Dawn. Let it show them what mercy looks like. Real mercy. The kind they do not deserve but will receive anyway." Across human space, in hidden bases and secret shipyards, engines began to power up. Massive vessels that had never been seen by alien eyes prepared to move. Crews who had trained their entire lives for this moment took their positions. The galaxy thought it knew what humanity was. In the next few hours, they would learn how wrong they had been. Above New Montana, Captain Ben Torres watched as his station's shields finally collapsed. Veloxy boarding craft were approaching. His crew was preparing for a last stand that they could not win. Then something appeared on the sensors. Something big. "Captain," the sensor officer whispered, "there is a ship incoming. It just appeared. I have never seen a drive signature like this." Ben looked at the display. A single vessel, massive beyond anything he had ever seen, had dropped out of a form of faster-than-light travel that should not have been possible. It was heading directly for the Veloxy fleet. Its name appeared on the identification screen. Earth Vessel, Quiet Dawn. And the Veloxy had no idea what was about to happen. The Quiet Dawn was not like any ship the galaxy had ever seen. It was 3 kilometers long, shaped like a blade made of darkness. And it moved through space with a grace that seemed impossible for something so massive. No engine flare marked its passage. No radiation signature betrayed its power systems. It simply glided toward the Veloxy fleet, like a shadow coming to life. General Zalveth watched his sensors with growing confusion. His officers were clicking rapidly, their fear filling the command deck with nervous sounds. "What is that vessel?" Zalveth demanded. "Where did it come from?" "Unknown, General. It does not match any configuration in our database. Its drive signature is... We cannot analyze it. The technology is beyond our understanding. That is impossible. We have records of every species in the galaxy. General, the ship is broadcasting an identification signal. It claims to be a human vessel." Zalveth's mandibles stopped clicking. He stared at the screen showing the approaching ship. Human? The humans had patrol boats and cargo vessels. They had a handful of outdated frigates that could barely defend a single planet. They did not have ships like this. No one had ships like this. "Open a channel," Zalveth ordered. The screen flickered, and a human face appeared. It was a woman with short gray hair and cold eyes. She wore a uniform that Zalveth did not recognize. Dark blue with silver markings that meant nothing to him. "I am Admiral Kira Voss of the Earth Shadow Fleet," the woman said. Her voice was calm, almost bored. "You were given a final warning. You chose to ignore it. That was a mistake." "Shadow Fleet?" Zalveth forced a laugh. "Humans do not have a shadow fleet. You have nothing. This is some kind of trick. General, in approximately 30 seconds, I am going to disable your entire fleet. Every ship, every weapon, every system. I am telling you this so that you understand what is happening. I want you to remember this moment for the rest of your life. You cannot." 20 seconds. Zalveth turned to his tactical officer. "Target that ship. All weapons. Fire everything." 200 Veloxy warships opened fire at once. Thousands of energy beams and missiles crossed the space between the fleet and the Quiet Dawn. It was enough firepower to crack a small moon. The weapons struck something invisible about 100 meters from the human ship's hull. They did not explode. They did not scatter. They simply stopped, frozen in place, held by forces that Veloxy science could not explain. 10 seconds, Admiral Voss said. "Impossible," Zalveth whispered. 5 seconds. "All ships, retreat, jump to..." He never finished the order. The Quiet Dawn released a pulse of energy that expanded outward in a perfect sphere. It passed through the Veloxy fleet in less than a second. Every ship it touched went dark. Engines died. Weapons powered down. Life support flickered but remained active. Navigation systems, communication arrays, and defensive shields all failed at the same moment. 200 warships became 200 metal coffins, drifting in the void. The entire attack had taken 11 seconds. On Defense Station Alpha, Captain Ben Torres watched in stunned silence. His own station was undamaged. The pulse had passed through human systems without effect, targeting only Veloxy technology. "Captain," his sensor officer said, her voice shaking. "The Veloxy fleet is completely disabled. All of them. They cannot move, they cannot shoot. They cannot even call for help." Ben stood slowly, his legs unsteady. "What? What just happened?" "I do not know, sir, but I think we just won." In the Confederation Council chambers, Ambassador Katie Lynn stood before the assembled delegates. She had arrived an hour ago, after receiving word of what happened at New Montana. The chamber was silent now. No one was laughing. "As of 6 hours ago," Katie said, "a Veloxy fleet of 200 warships attacked our colony at New Montana. They killed our people. They destroyed our ships. They ignored our final warning." She paused, letting the words sink in. 1 hour ago, a single vessel from Earth's true military responded to that attack. In 11 seconds, it disabled the entire Veloxy fleet without destroying a single ship. The Veloxy crews are alive. Their vessels are intact but powerless. They will be held as prisoners until further notice. A ripple of whispers passed through the chamber. Katie raised her hand, and silence returned. For 60 years, humanity has been part of this confederation. For 60 years, you have mocked us. You have called us weak. You have ignored our pleas for justice. You assumed that because we chose not to fight, we could not fight. She pressed a button on her podium. The main display screen lit up, showing a map of the galaxy. Across human space, thousands of red dots appeared. Each dot represented a ship. This is the Earth Shadow Fleet. 4,000 warships. Technology 3 generations ahead of anything in the Confederation. We have had this capability since before we joined you. We chose to hide it. We chose to watch and learn. We chose to be patient. The whispers became shouts. Delegates were standing, pointing, demanding explanations. Katie waited until they exhausted themselves. "You want to know why we hid?" She looked around the chamber, meeting the eyes of species who had treated humanity as dirt. "Because we remembered our own history. We remembered what happens when power is used without wisdom. We saw the wars in your past, the extinctions, the genocide. We decided that we did not want to be conquerors. We wanted to be neighbors." She let that word hang in the air. "But neighbors do not attack each other. Neighbors do not kill innocent people. Neighbors do not ignore cries for help." Her voice hardened. "The Veloxy chose to make us enemies. That was their mistake. But we are giving them a chance that they did not give our people. Their crews are alive. Their ships can be repaired. We showed them mercy." High Arbiter Zethran's image appeared on a side screen. He was broadcasting from his homeworld, his mandibles clicking frantically. "This is an act of war," Zethran shouted. "The Confederation must respond. These humans have deceived everyone." Katie turned to look at him. "Yes, we deceived you. And in 60 years of deception, how many of your people did we kill? How many worlds did we burn? How many children did we take as slaves?" Zethran had no answer. "We could have conquered you at any time," Katie continued. "We could have turned your homeworld to glass before you even knew we were there. But we did not. We chose another path. That choice is still available to you." She stepped back from the podium. "This was mercy. There will not be another demonstration of mercy. Leave our people alone. Or learn what happens when humans stop pretending to be weak." She walked out of the chamber, leaving chaos behind her. Above New Montana, Admiral Kira Voss watched as human shuttles moved between the disabled Veloxy ships. Medical teams were boarding each vessel, treating wounded aliens, providing food and water to crews who had expected to die. "Admiral," an officer reported, "General Zalveth is requesting to speak with you." "Put him through." The Veloxy commander appeared on screen. His confidence was gone. He looked like a creature who had just discovered that everything he believed was wrong. Why? Zalveth asked. Why did you not destroy us? You have the power. We attacked your people. We would have enslaved your colony. Why show us mercy? Kira considered the question carefully. Because killing you would be easy, she said. Mercy is hard. And we have learned that the hard choices are usually the right ones. I do not understand. No, you do not. But maybe, someday, you will. The screen went dark, and the quiet dawn continued its work, saving the lives of enemies who had come to destroy them. The news spread across the galaxy like fire through dry grass. Within hours, every species knew what had happened at New Montana. The story was always the same. Humans had been hiding. Humans had been lying. Humans were not the weak, helpless creatures everyone believed them to be. On the Veloxy homeworld of Chitara, High Arbiter Zethran stood before his war council. The chamber that had once been filled with celebration was now thick with fear. His generals no longer clicked with confidence. They clicked with terror. We must surrender, one general said. They showed mercy once. Perhaps they will show it again. Surrender? Zethran slammed his forearms against the table. We are the Veloxy Empire. We do not surrender to prey animals. They are not prey animals, High Arbiter. They never were. We were fools to believe otherwise. Then we will show them that the Veloxy do not back down. We have ships. We have soldiers. We have resources. If they want war, we will give them war. The generals exchanged nervous glances. None of them wanted to say what they were all thinking. Finally, the oldest among them spoke. High Arbiter. Our fleet at New Montana was our best. 200 warships. Disabled in 11 seconds by a single human vessel. We do not know how many ships they truly have. We do not know what other weapons they possess. We would be fighting blind against an enemy we do not understand. Then we will learn. We will adapt. We will find their weaknesses. What if they have no weaknesses? Zethran's mandibles clicked sharply. Every species has weaknesses. The humans pretended to be weak because they feared us. That fear is their weakness. We will make them afraid again. He turned to a communication screen and broadcast his message across Veloxy space. All citizens of the Empire, hear me. The humans have attacked our fleet without cause. They have taken our soldiers as prisoners. They threaten our way of life and our very existence. I am ordering a full mobilization of all military forces. Every ship, every soldier, every weapon will be brought to bear against this enemy. We will not rest until humanity learns to fear the Veloxy once more. On Earth, President Amy Carson watched the broadcast from her office in the global capital. She was a woman in her 60s, with silver hair and eyes that had seen too many difficult decisions. Admiral Daniel Cole stood beside her, along with Ambassador Katie Lynn, who had returned from the Confederation just hours ago. He is going to throw everything he has at us, Katie said. He would rather destroy his own people than admit he was wrong. That is what pride does, Amy replied. It makes people choose destruction over humility. What are our options? Daniel asked. Amy stood and walked to the window. Outside, the city was peaceful. Children played in parks. People went about their daily lives. They had no idea how close the galaxy was to open war. We could end this today, she said quietly. Our fleet could reach Chitara in 6 hours. We could disable their entire military before they even organized their forces. We could force them to surrender without firing a shot. But, Katie asked, but that would make us conquerors. It would make us exactly what we promised ourselves we would never become. She turned back to face them. 150 years ago, when we first discovered faster-than-light travel, our scientists realized something terrible. Our technology was advancing so fast that within a generation, we would have weapons capable of destroying entire civilizations. We looked at the galaxy and saw species that had been fighting each other for thousands of years. We saw empires rise and fall. Billions of lives lost to wars that accomplished nothing. Amy sat down heavily in her chair. Our leaders made a decision. They decided that humanity would not join that cycle. We would hide our true capabilities. We would pretend to be weak. We would watch and learn. And we would only reveal ourselves when we had no other choice. And now we have no other choice, Daniel said. No. We do not. But we can still choose how we respond. We can choose mercy. Even when they choose war. Her communication device buzzed. She looked at the screen, and her expression changed. The Confederation Council is requesting a meeting. Elder Morinth. Specifically, Katie raised an eyebrow. Morinth? He is the oldest diplomat in the Confederation. He has not spoken in council sessions for 20 years. He wants to speak now. And he wants to speak to me directly. An hour later, President Amy Carson sat in a private communication chamber, facing a holographic image of Elder Morinth. He was from a species called the Vanthri, ancient beings who had been part of the Confederation since its founding. His body was thin and covered in flowing robes, and his eyes held the weight of centuries. President Carson, Morinth said, his voice slow and measured. I have watched your species since you first appeared among the stars. I remember when your ambassador came to the council, asking to join us. I remember thinking that there was something different about humanity, something hidden, and now you know what it was. I know part of it. I know that you had the power to dominate us from the beginning. I know that you chose not to. What I do not know is why. Amy considered her words carefully. Have you ever read human history, Elder Morinth? Some of it. It is filled with violence. Wars. Genocide. Destruction. Yes, it is. We nearly destroyed ourselves many times. We came so close to extinction that our species carries the memory of it in our very souls. When we reached the stars and discovered we were not alone, we faced a choice. We could take what we had learned from our worst moments and use it to conquer others. Or we could take what we learned from our best moments and try to be something better. And you chose to be better. We chose to try. It has not been easy. There are those among us who wanted to use our power, who argued that strength should be demonstrated, not hidden. But we held to our principles. We believed that true strength is shown through restraint, not destruction. Morinth was silent for a long moment. The Veloxi will not accept this philosophy. They are preparing for war even now. They would rather die than live with the shame of defeat. I know. What will you do? Amy looked at the ancient being, feeling the weight of billions of lives pressing down on her shoulders. We will give them one more chance. One more opportunity to choose peace over pride. And if they refuse, we will defeat them without destroying them. We will show them mercy even when they beg for death. And perhaps, someday, they will understand why. You believe they can change? I believe every species can change. We did. It took us thousands of years and more suffering than I can describe. But we changed. If there is hope for humanity, there is hope for anyone. Morinth studied her with ancient eyes. I have lived for 800 years, President Carson. I have seen empires rise and fall. I have watched species destroy themselves in wars that could have been avoided. I have often wondered if wisdom was possible among the stars, or if violence was the only constant. He paused. Today, for the first time in centuries, I have hope. Whatever happens next, I want you to know that the Vanthri will stand with humanity, not because of your weapons, but because of your choices. The screen went dark. Amy sat alone in the chamber, thinking about choices and consequences. Outside, she knew the Veloxi were preparing for war. She knew that millions of lives hung in the balance. She knew that the easy path was destruction, and the hard path was mercy. Humanity had always chosen the hard path. They would choose it again. The Veloxi armada gathered in the space above Chitara. 2,000 warships. The entire remaining military power of their empire, assembled for what High Arbiter Zethrin called the final crusade against human tyranny. Every ship was crewed by soldiers who had been told that humanity was an existential threat that had to be stopped at any cost. Admiral Daniel Cole watched the enemy fleet from the bridge of his flagship, the Morning Star. Around him, 800 ships of the Earth Shadow Fleet held position just outside the Veloxi home system. It was a fraction of their true strength, but it was enough. "Admiral," Commander Ryan Brooks reported, "the Veloxy fleet is moving to intercept. They will be in weapons range in 12 minutes. Daniel nodded slowly. "Open a channel to their command ship. All frequencies." Quote, the communication officer worked at his station. "Channel open, sir. Hi, Arbiter Zethrin. This is Admiral Daniel Cole of the Earth Defense Force. I am authorized to offer you one final opportunity for peace. Stand down your fleet. Release any human prisoners. Agree to terms of surrender. Do this, and no more lives will be lost today." The response came quickly. Zethrin's image appeared on the screen, his mandibles clicking with fury. "You dare to offer us surrender? You, who deceived the entire galaxy. You, who pretended to be weak while planning our destruction. We never planned your destruction, High Arbiter. We still do not. But we will defend ourselves and our people. The choice is yours. My choice was made the moment you revealed your true nature. The Veloxy do not surrender. The Veloxy do not forgive. Today, we will show the galaxy that humanity can bleed." The screen went dark. Daniel sighed heavily. He had known this would happen. He had hoped otherwise. But he had known. "All ships," he announced on the fleet channel. "Prepare for engagement. Rules of engagement are as follows. Disable. Do not destroy. Target weapons and engines only. Minimize casualties on both sides. I want that fleet dead in space, not dead in body. Is that understood?" 800 confirmations came back. "Admiral," Ryan said quietly, "they have 2,000 ships. We have 800. Even with our technology advantage, some of our people are going to die." "I know." Daniel's voice was heavy with the weight of command. "That is the price of mercy. It is always easier to kill than to save. Our people know that. They accepted it when they put on the uniform." The Veloxy fleet charged forward, weapons powering up, missiles arming, thousands of soldiers ready to fight and die for their empire's pride. The human fleet moved to meet them. What followed was not really a battle. It was a lesson. The Veloxy had numbers. They had courage. They had determination. What they did not have was technology that could touch the human ships. Their weapons fired, and were stopped by shields that should not have existed. Their missiles were caught by defense systems that tracked and destroyed them before they could reach their targets. Their most advanced tactics were anticipated and countered by human commanders who seemed to know what they were going to do before they did it. And through it all, the human ships did not fire to kill. They fired precise shots that disabled engines, that drained weapon capacitors, that shut down systems without rupturing hulls. Ship after ship went dark, drifting powerless but intact. Crews who expected to die found themselves alive and confused, watching their instruments fail while their life support kept functioning. 4 minutes after the battle began, it was over. 2,000 Veloxy warships floated dead in space. Their crews were alive. Their weapons were silent. Their empire's military power had been completely neutralized without a single ship destroyed. On the human side, 17 vessels had taken damage. 43 crew members had been killed. 43 lives that did not have to be lost, sacrificed on the altar of another species' pride. Admiral Daniel Cole looked at the casualty report and felt each death like a wound in his own heart. "Open a channel to the Veloxy surface," he ordered. The screen showed the government chamber on Chitara. High Arbiter Zethrin stood surrounded by his advisors, all of them staring at displays that showed the complete defeat of their fleet. "High Arbiter," Daniel said, "your military is disabled. Your fleet drifts helpless in space. We could destroy your world now. We could burn every city, kill every citizen, end your species forever. You know we have that power." Zethrin's mandibles hung slack. He looked like a creature whose entire world had collapsed around him. "Why do you not?" His voice was barely a whisper. "Because that is not who we are." Daniel leaned forward in his chair. "We are sending medical ships to your fleet. We will treat your wounded. We will provide food and water to your crews. We will help you recover your vessels once terms of surrender are signed. Your soldiers will return home to their families. Your species will continue to exist. Your worlds will remain your own. I do not understand. We attacked you. We killed your people. We would have enslaved your colonies. Yes, you did. And now you have lost. But losing a war does not mean you deserve to lose everything. We learned that lesson long ago. Today, we are teaching it to you. On the surface of Chitara, in the days that followed, human medical ships landed at every major city. Doctors and nurses who spoke not a word of Veloxi language worked alongside local healers to treat the wounded. Engineers helped repair damaged infrastructure. Food was distributed to populations that had been preparing for a war that never came. The Veloxi watched in confusion. Their propaganda had told them that humans were monsters, hidden predators who wanted to destroy everything they loved. Instead, they found neighbors who wanted to help. High Arbiter Zethran signed the surrender terms on the third day. He stood before Ambassador Katie Lynn in the same chamber where he had once laughed at her warnings. I do not deserve this mercy, he said. My pride cost the lives of millions. I should be executed for my failures. Executing you would not bring back the dead, Katie replied. Living with your choices is a harder punishment than death. Use that time to become someone worthy of the mercy you were shown. In the Confederation Council, Elder Morinth rose to speak for the first time in 2 decades. The chamber fell silent as the ancient diplomat took the floor. For 600 years, I have watched this council fail to achieve true peace. We have managed conflicts. We have negotiated temporary truces. We have maintained an order built on fear and power. Today, humanity has shown us another way. He gestured to the human delegation. They had the power to conquer us all. They chose peace. They had the opportunity to destroy their enemies. They chose mercy. They have done what we always claimed to want, but never had the courage to pursue. They have shown us what civilization could actually look like. The chamber erupted in discussion, but Morinth was not finished. I am old. I will not live to see where this leads. But I believe today is the beginning of something new. Not because humanity forced us to change, but because they showed us it was possible. 1 year later, Admiral Daniel Cole visited a memorial on New Montana. 43 names were carved into black stone, surrounded by flowers from 100 worlds. Among them were the names of the soldiers who died defending this colony, and the crew members who gave their lives in the final battle. Captain Ben Torres stood beside him. His defense station had been rebuilt, though the galaxy no longer doubted human power. Do you ever wonder if it was worth it? Ben asked. We lost good people. We could have ended it faster if we had just struck first, struck hard. Daniel looked at the names on the stone. Every day, he admitted. Every day I wonder. Every night, I see their faces. But then I think about what we would have become if we had chosen differently. I think about the Veloxi children who are alive today because we held back. I think about the future we might build now that the galaxy knows there is another way. Is that enough? Daniel placed his hand on the memorial, feeling the cold stone beneath his palm. No, it is never enough. But it is what we have. The only thing we can do is try to be worthy of their sacrifice. Try to build a galaxy where this never has to happen again. He stepped back and saluted the fallen. They did not die for victory, he said quietly. They died for mercy. And mercy is always worth dying for. The sun set over New Montana, casting long shadows across the memorial. In the distance, human and Veloxi workers rebuilt a damaged settlement together, their children playing in fields where armies had once gathered. The galaxy had learned what humanity truly was. Not conquerors, not destroyers, not the weak creatures they had pretended to be, just people who chose to be better. And perhaps, in time, others would choose the same.